TV7 Israel News is made possible thanks to your generous donations. Shalom, good evening. This is TV7 Israel News, broadcast to you from Jerusalem, and in today's top stories. Israel and the Iranian-proxy Hezbollah adopt a 60-day ceasefire, despite the latter's pledge not to abide by the U.S.-brokered outline. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu lays out 3 reasons that triggered Jerusalem's decision to accept the United States mediated cessation of hostilities. Israeli Defense Minister Yisrael Katz instructs the IDF to confront Iran's efforts to establish an eastern front against Israel. As of 4 a.m. this morning, Israel and the Iranian-proxy Hezbollah have ceased fire.
Overnight at 4 a.m., the ceasefire with Lebanon went into effect. Thanks to the correct and decisive decisions of the political echelon and the incredible and exceptional performance of the IDF and all of the security branches, which will be studied in the history of conflicts, and you also contributed to the combination of knowledge, technology, and capabilities. Hezbollah was dealt severe blows that damaged its capabilities and set it back many, many years. From the use of offensive technological means to the elimination of Nasrallah and the entire Hezbollah leadership, the severe damage to the strategic missile array and the missile array in general, the destruction of the terror infrastructure and the offensive tunnels that Hezbollah built in the settlements and areas adjacent to the fence were destroyed and shattered in a heroic war by IDF soldiers.
Jerusalem's top defense official went on to acknowledge that the goals of the war have not been achieved as of yet.
The goal of the war in the north, as defined, was to harm Hezbollah's capabilities and create the conditions for the safe return of the northern residents to their homes, and we will see in the next 60 days whether this goal is realized. When the public becomes aware of the details of the arrangement in all its components, and if effective enforcement is carried out, with Israel at the center, calm and deterrence will be created. It will be possible to say that the goal has been achieved.
Outgoing U.S. President Joe Biden was quick to seize the opportunity to announce a foreign policy win for his outgoing administration, asserting that Hezbollah and other terror groups in Lebanon will not be allowed to threaten Israel ever again.
This is designed to be a permanent cessation of hostilities. What is left of Hezbollah and other terrorist organizations will not be allowed, I emphasize, will not be allowed to threaten the security of Israel again. Over the next 60 days, the Lebanese army and state security forces will deploy and take control of their own territory once again. Hezbollah terrorist infrastructure in southern Lebanon will not be allowed to be rebuilt. And over the next 60 days, Israel will gradually withdraw its remaining forces. And civilians on both sides will soon be able to safely return to their communities.
President Biden went on to stress that if Hezbollah or anyone else were to breach the deal, Israel retains the full right to self-defense. Hezbollah, which lost its leadership and the majority of its field commanders, is operationally directed by the Islamic Republic of Iran. Nevertheless, as part of Tehran's policy of deliberate disassociation for the purpose of deniability, Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi initially welcomed the ceasefire, stressing that the outcome of the pause will be based on the will of the Lebanese government and the Iranian-proxy Hezbollah.
Well, I hope it will last and will lead to a permanent ceasefire. But everything depends on Lebanese themselves, the Lebanese government and resistance, Hezbollah. It's up to them to decide. And if they are satisfied, of course, we are satisfied too, and we will support whatever decision they make.
Meanwhile, in Lebanon, caretaker Prime Minister Najib Kati voiced hope that the Lebanese government would deepen its sovereignty over southern Lebanon where Hezbollah has been the reigning power for over 2 decades, while further asserting Beirut's demand of Israel to disengage from southern Lebanon and to implement UN Security Council Resolution 1701 per the terms of the ceasefire's outline.
I also demand that the Israeli enemy fully commits to the ceasefire decision and withdraw from all the regions and positions it occupied and implement United Nations Security Council Resolution 1701 in full. Our people have the right to return to their land and towns and live in peace.
It is important to highlight that while UN Security Council Resolution 1701, in concert with the US-adopted outline for the cessation of hostilities, prevents Hezbollah from returning to southern Lebanon, the Iranian proxy stressed unabashedly, however, that it will not abide by the terms of the American arrangement, raising concrete questions about whether the ceasefire will hold.
Lebanon does not consider itself concerned with any side agreements that the Israeli entity has concluded with the United States of America. The two of them were one side in this war. What is being said about a letter of guarantees, or something like it, does not concern Lebanon. We are concerned with the measures that the Lebanese state institutions will take on Lebanese territory, as we have set two main points: a halt to the aggression and the protection of Lebanese sovereignty. From now, we confirm that the resistance, Hezbollah, will remain, will continue, will carry on, and it is a part of the national formula known as the army, the people, and the resistance.
Meanwhile, in Israel, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu made a televised address, during the course of which he spoke about the reasons which drove Jerusalem to accept the US-brokered outline for a trial session of a cessation of hostilities for a duration of 60 days.
Why should we have a ceasefire now? For three main reasons. The first reason is to focus on the Iranian threat, and I will not expand on that. The second reason is to give our forces a breather and replenish stocks. And I say it openly, it is no secret that there have been big delays in weapons and munitions deliveries. These delays will be resolved soon. We will receive supplies of advanced weaponry that will keep our soldiers safe and give us more strike force to complete our mission. And the third reason for having a ceasefire is to separate the fronts and isolate Hamas. From day 2 of the war, Hamas was counting on Hezbollah to fight by its side. With Hezbollah out of the picture, Hamas is left on its own in this campaign. We will increase our pressure on Hamas, and that will help us in our sacred mission of releasing our hostages.
Netanyahu further stressed that the length of the ceasefire depends solely on whether Hezbollah violates the agreement and tries to arm itself.
The length of the ceasefire depends on what happens in Lebanon. With the United States' full understanding, we maintain full freedom of military action. If Hezbollah violates the agreement and tries to arm itself, we will attack. If it tries to rebuild terrorist infrastructure near the border, we will attack. If it launches a rocket, if it digs a tunnel, if it brings in a truck carrying rockets, we will attack. Yes, I hear the claim that if we enter into a ceasefire, we will not be able to attack and will not be able to renew the war. I remind you that this was exactly what they said when we had a ceasefire in Gaza to release the hostages. They said we wouldn't go back to fighting, but we did. They tell me Hezbollah will be quiet for a year or two, grow stronger, and then attack us. But Hezbollah will be in violation of the agreement not only if it fires on us. It will be in violation of the agreement if it obtains weapons to fire at us in the future. And we will respond forcefully to any violation.
The Israeli Prime Minister also seized the opportunity to address the remaining active fronts in Israel's war against Iran's separate tentacles, while further underscoring Jerusalem's determination to do everything in its power to prevent Iran from obtaining a nuclear weapon. Meanwhile, at an IDF intelligence directorate base, Israeli Defense Minister Yisrael Katz highlighted Jerusalem's concerns over Iran's proactive efforts to establish an eastern front against Israel. Jerusalem's top defense official further expanded on Israel's defensive and offensive measures related to efforts to confront Tehran's eastern threat.
Regarding defense, I have decided to intensively promote the construction of the fence on the eastern border between Israel and Jordan. We must erect this fence, first and foremost, to thwart smuggling and additional security-related and other reasons. We are going to do this very quickly. Regarding offense, I will note that you are operating in all existing methods. But, ultimately, we cannot lose in this campaign against the establishment of the Eastern Front. We will have to implement a so-called root canal treatment in some places to prevent Judea and Samaria and the refugee camps from becoming a model similar to Gaza.
Thank you for watching TV7 Israel News. I would like to encourage you, pray for the peace of Jerusalem and salvation of Israel. Moreover, if you're blessed by our productions, which are exclusively donation-based and as such broadcast free of charge, please consider making a donation. You can do so via our website at www.tv7israelnews.com. I'm Jonathan Hessen, wishing you an Erev Mevorach, and God willing, we will see you during our next update. Until then, Shalom from Jerusalem.